Are streaming already. So, good morning, LinkedIn, and welcome to Talk About TV, where we talk about all things experiential outdoor hospitality. And I'm going to take your note taker out of here or not, because there we go. Sorry about that, world. And okay, Talk About TV, where we talk about all things experiential outdoor hospitality. I am your host, Michelle Oliver, and every Monday we come to you to share one thing, insights into experiential outdoor hospitality. And today, my very special guest is Randy Hendrickson, and he is here to share his insights plural, I'm sure there are many of them, into seen and heard, how to stand out of the herd. Does that make sense? How to stand out and not blend in with the herd with your experiential outdoor accommodations. So, Randy Hendrickson, welcome to Monday on LinkedIn.
It's a pleasure to be here, Michelle. This is one of the things that you and I have talked about, I don't know how many times, right? I mean, it's just always a topic of conversation.
Yeah,
And yeah, it might be a little bit of a play on words, the seen and heard thing, but I think we'll point out what we
it's
mean by that
fun.
momentarily. Yeah, why not? Why
It's
not?
fun. I love it.
No,
People don't want to run with the herd. So
no, that's
it
no
doesn't,
fun.
there's no benefit.
No, there's no benefit at all. Yeah, and specifically, again, to kind of restate what we've talked about, I think a couple times on your show here, Evolve
Mm,
Lodging came about as kind of a reaction to what we saw as somewhat of a sedentary mindset towards accommodations. And
yes.
it's one of the peculiarities I think that folks tend to kind of default to a basic solution for accommodations versus really kind of pushing the envelope about what can be. And we got a PDF on this very topic, I believe, don't we?
Indeed, we do. Allow me to share my screen.
Oh,
One moment.
sure.
Here we go. All right.
There it is. So on that first screen, the seen versus heard, we could scroll down one page. There we go. So yeah, there's this little sardine can off to the side there. That image was chosen very conspicuously because
I love it.
sometimes the site plans we see kind of look like sardine cans, and we're shoving as many units side by side as we can to get the maximum density per acre. More about that in a second, but the first part of the premise is basically the scene that we all see out there is very familiar. So if you've got a property and you're looking to add some accommodations, be they park models, cottages, or what have you, there's kind of a fear of missing out, a FOMO type of thing. My competitors are putting in accommodations. I should too. What are they doing? I'll do that so I can compete. That's not competing. That's not competing. The way you compete and win, more properly stated, is what can I do that's different from the mainstream, right? So it's not like it's anybody's fault, but it's just not opening up the window enough to what could be. So again, that herd mentality, everybody's got these park models. We use that as an example. And there's a standard park model, and they want to go buy several of those. It's the same park model that could be at 70 other properties, 100 other properties, 200 other properties, because it's a mainstream offering. No harm, no foul. That's the default setting. We're encouraging folks to get away from the default setting and saying, okay, how do I stand apart and be different from that? The reason being, as we say in this handy dandy little PDF here, when you treat accommodations as transactional rental units, that's a problem. You're basically saying, I've got four walls. I've got something different than an RV site. Here's the price for it. And that ends up being a little bit more transactional. We're saying push the envelope to an experiential lodging venue. So what does that mean? That means, as we say, innovate, differentiate, sell the zip code, bringing elements of your community, what's unique and different about your brand, your location. And it's never too late to innovate. That's a really important point. Even if you've had your campground for 30 years, it's never too late to innovate. Look at it with fresh eyes. Evolve Lodging, our company, can really help with that and say, okay, here's what is. Let's talk about what could be. How could we bring more of an experience into this accommodation? Never too late to innovate, but you just don't want to be one of the many. You want to be one of the few or one of the one. So we can go to the next slide.
It's never too late to innovate. I love that.
Never.
Keep that in mind and share that with your teams daily, seen and heard.
So here's the better part. You want to be part of the seen and part of the herd mentality. You want to be seen and you want to be heard. So what does that mean? For developers, and I can't tell you how many times I've been across this in my past life, and Michelle, how many times you and I've been a part of this too. And it's what we just mentioned earlier about the sardine thing. Developers, it has never been about how many sites you can cram onto an acre, how many units per acre, how many, that's never been that question of density. On a spreadsheet, it sounds magical. In real life, your guests don't want to be 3 feet apart from their neighbor. They just don't. So what we've always strived for is the maximum units you can get that are desirable, rentable, experiential, that have the highest occupancy and highest ADR. You might find as a new developer that those 80 park models you were going to bring in, you're far better served with 70 or 60 with more green space, larger decks, outdoor living, higher ADR, higher guest satisfaction. And for existing owners, it's the same thing. What's memorable about your brand? Provide the unexpected. Can't emphasize that enough. You want to have that moment where they say, I didn't expect to see that. And Michelle, as you and I have talked about this so many times, that could be a $300 recirculating water fountain on a deck. But I didn't expect to see a water feature on the deck. I'm not used to that. What are the things you can do that provides that I've never seen this before moment? That's the fun part, right? Taking something that's just a place to stay and making it a place to experience. What a big difference that is. And of course, the conclusion from that is when your guests see the level of care you've taken, you'll be hearing about it in all of their reviews. You're going to see that picture of that fountain on the deck, that outdoor kitchen, that landscaping you did, the furniture on your outside deck, the extra care for the interior, the way you themed it to your environment, your location, and made it stand apart. You're going to start seeing yourself with a lot of folks doing marketing for you saying, I didn't expect to see that. That's what you want. That's what it means to be seen and heard versus seen, part of the scene.
Seen and heard versus seen and heard. Yes, I
Absolutely.
love it. So, and it's really, when you think of it from a guest perspective, or when you are experiencing something from a guest perspective, it's so obvious, right? But
Yeah.
somehow when you're an owner, it's so easy to fall into a very fixed mindset, and so it's really just a reminder to stay within that growth mindset. And yeah, this is absolutely perfect. All
I mean,
right,
it,
do we
it
have one
really,
more? Oh, this is it. Okay,
no, that's
perfect.
it. I mean, really, the punchline to the whole thing is, and yes, I'm going to talk about Evolve Lodging here because this is why it's such a passion for both you and I and Charlie Boyne, who's on our team, and the rest of our affiliated networks, manufacturers, everybody we've lined up in the whole Evolve story, is we really want to work with you and say, okay, if you're going to be making a change and adding some stuff. Bear in mind, we do CapEx construction, expansions, new resort construction, all of those things. And the funnest part is when you, as the owner or you, as the developer, say, I have this idea about who I was or wanted to be, but who else can I be? What other channels are open to us? That's where Evolve Lodging really steps in and says, let's write the story together. Let's think this through together. Let's bring the experience that we have, the design aesthetics we have, and let's just think this through. And we've got
Yeah,
that calculator that we talked about last time, which we'll bring up again in a future episode. But we can start quantifying why it might make a better difference for you to spend less on your park model and more on the outside than you thought of before. It's all locational, it's all property specific. There is no magic formula at all. It's always unique and individual as the property and the owner itself. That's where we love to live, working with you on telling the right story. Let's be experiential and get you talked about. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. It's um sorry, something very weird happened on my screen. Yeah, be seen and be heard in the right way. And I do think it's so wonderful that you're pointing out this, that you already, people often have the foundation for
Yeah.
this.
Oh
And
yeah,
all of these can be slight edge improvements.
that's it.
And as a guest, you come in and it's kind of obvious to you, but when you're on the inside looking out, you can't always see. So anybody that just wants to have that conversation, and the calculator that Randy has built is such a very powerful tool, because you can see right there on the calculator what makes sense, rather than being stuck in your own mindset of maybe what you think was working in the past. Maybe you don't realize that one little tweak can totally change everything. We saw that you shared one day on the screen, and we were all amazed, like, what? So we invite you to come just have that conversation, and we're happy to share anything and everything with all of you. Any last parting comments for the week,
Yeah.
Randy?
Just really, really briefly in the this whole theme that we're talking about today, which again is so near and dear to you and I, we talk about this all the time. If you're an
Yeah.
owner operator, think of the last hotel or RV resort you stayed at where you had that experience of, I didn't expect to see that. All of us
Yep.
have that. All of us have been through that. By the same token, we've all been through well, this is a good place to stay and it's clean. There's no memories
Mhm.
there. That's not memorable. That's transactional. Think back to the last place you stayed at that said, I didn't expect that. That's where you need to be. That's that little extra
Yeah.
couple percent over and above. And that's how you win. 100%.
Agreed, 100%. And you don't want to be on the other side of that, of I didn't expect that, in the negative sense
No.
either.
No.
And you have to be very aware of what your guests do expect now,
Absolutely.
because the higher that bar is raised, everybody is thinking, they have better resources now, more awareness to things like this. So, yeah, but you can win. So thank you so much for sharing today. And
My
everybody have a
pleasure.
beautiful, wonderful week. It's going to be very productive. And this is like right in the middle of season for everyone. So I hope you're all crushing it, and reach out to us. We'd love to speak with you. Have a wonderful week,
Absolutely.
everyone.